Let's break this down. So first thing first, yeah. This is his third studio album, his third one. His first being Common Sense, his second being Big Experience, and his third being Beautiful and Brutal Yard. And I'm here to officially announce that not only is it his third album, it's the third classic album. This is a classic. This is what you call an instant classic. This is one of them albums that you don't need to give it any time to marinate. You just know straight away this is an album that's gonna shift. This is an album that's gonna stick. This is an album this is an album. It was one of them albums that you remember when you first heard it. You know what I'm on? For me, I don't think we're ever gonna see a run like this ever again. I'll be honest with you. If we're talking UK rap, UK artists, Common Sense, Big Conspiracy, Beautiful and Brutal Yard, that 3-album run, like cements him as the greatest to ever do this. Like the number one to ever do this. Like number one. And if we're being honest, like in his time that he's been here, yeah, he's surpassed every artist, every rapper the UK has ever seen. Like he is number one. He called himself the father for a reason. I'll be honest with you. Like his catalogue of projects, his catalogue of hits, that I promise you, we will. Martin Tyler, when Aguero scored in 2012, you will never see anything like this again. J Hus is a one of one. He is a one of one, not one of many. That's what you need to understand. Like, it's literally impossible to replicate what he does, because of no one even knows what he does. He does so many different things, and he tells us so many different stories in so many different ways that it's impossible to even if you want to cut one thing he does, there's still so many other things he does that just can't be replicated. The authenticity, it's the storytelling, and it's I don't know, man. For me, this is the greatest artist we're ever gonna see this country's ever seen, honestly. And he's one of the few people from our scene that transcend the UK conversation. For me, if we're talking just across the board, best artists in the world, when man are mentioning Burna Boys, when man are mentioning Lil Babies, when man are mentioning Drakes, when man are mentioning all of these global superstars, make sure you mention J Hus' name in that conversation. Make sure you don't leave J Hus out, because I promise you, if he wasn't from the UK, people would be saying he's the best artist in the world. But the problem with the UK is we don't look past the UK. So if you're the best in the UK, they'll just call you the best in the UK. They're not going to compare you to the best in the world. But honestly, if we're talking musical ability, if we're just going based off talent, bro, this guy's one of the best artists on the planet right now. I'll be honest with you. He's one of the best artists on the planet right now. I'll be honest with you. In my books, this is the GOAT, innit? This is the GOAT. Full stop. This 3-album run that he's gone on is one for the history books. And the reason why it's one for the history books is because it's never, ever, ever going to be replicated. And I'm not saying no one's ever going to go on a 3-album run, but not like this one. Not like this one, I promise you. We will never see anything like this again. He's the undeniable truth. Someone said over Nines. Obviously, Nines is man's goal. If we're talking rap, like rappers. Nines is my favorite rapper of all time. But if we're talking artists, Hus is my favorite artist of all time, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's where I kind of differentiate him. But bro, even Nines himself, I remember speaking to Nines about all the projects that are dropping, and even he said himself, the one album I'm waiting for is Hustle Ting. That's the one. I remember him saying, the one album I'm waiting for is Hustle Ting. Like, I remember him saying that. Like, every artist knows, like trust me, goats recognize goats, bro. Like, goats recognize goats, trust me. Everyone knows that Hus is the truth, bro. Trust me. That's why when Hus drops. Like, no one else that drops matters apart from Hus. I see the DB thing that dropped last week. Like, I ain't even taking it in properly. I'm sure it's good, but it's gonna get forgotten about quickly because of this. Let's be honest. Thoughts on this album compared to Big Conspiracy, and this is where we get a bit more critical now. I mean, a bit more constructive now. You see this album, yeah. Like I said, I feel like this album is common sense. If Common Sense and Big Conspiracy, yeah, came together and had a baby, and then the baby matured, and the baby grew old enough to watch his parents die out and had his own kids and started telling his kids his own lessons, then that's what this album is. That's what this album is. This album is the two previous versions of Hustle we've seen, but then just a more matured version of that. You get what I'm trying to say? But that's where my criticism comes into it. Because there is some criticism I've got for this album. Even though the album is incredible, it's incredible. And bear in mind, yeah, Huss is in a league of his own. He's competing against himself. He said it there, I'm playing chess against myself. No one is on the other side of the table. It's him versus him. It's him, a chessboard, and a mirror in front of him. One thing I'll say about this album, yeah, is he dropped Common Sense, yeah, and he just solidified himself as the number one. He dropped Big Conspiracy, and he showed everyone that he's in a different headspace to anyone else in the country. And for me, Big Conspiracy, he showed us a very different side to him. We learned a lot more about Huss that we didn't know already. But then on this, yeah, I don't think I learned that much about him. And that's my criticism. And bear in mind, he's been gone for 3.5 years. So when you go away for 3.5 years, I want to come back with new information. Realistically, content wise, I don't feel like he told us anything he hasn't told us before. I'll be honest, that's my only criticism on the album. I don't feel like obviously there is he touched on little things. Like, for example, he talks about how he got rushed in jail. He never told us that before. There's little things he touched on, like when he told a story about when he seen the girl. Like, the little thing he touched on, but he didn't really go into depth. Like, he didn't really show us a different side to him that we didn't see before. Like, he never really told us anything we haven't heard him say before, and that's my criticism. After 3.5 years, he should have loads of new things to say. And he didn't really. He had basically the same things, but just in a different way, and talking about it from a different perspective. But he's still saying the same thing. I'm trying to say to you, chat. And that's my main criticism of the Huss album. And another thing, yeah, there wasn't enough, you see on Big Conspiracy, yeah, deeper than rap. I don't think this album has a deeper than rap. Obviously, playing chess is the closest thing we have, but I wouldn't really call that deeper than rap. There's not a song on there where he just rapping and just telling us everything that's on his mind. I feel like all the other songs, he's giving us a little 1 or 2 bars. He'll go this Huss, yeah, he'll zoom in and zoom out. He'll talk about generic shit for 4 bar, then he'll zoom in, talk about something specific about his life, then zoom out again, zoom in and zoom out. But I want a song which is fully zoomed in, just telling us everything that's on your mind, everything that's been happening. You know what I'm trying to say? But obviously, something like that kind of comes when you're ready. You know what I'm trying to say to you? It comes when you're ready, and maybe you're not ready for that. But yeah, my only criticism is I don't think he told me anything new. I don't think I learned anything new about Huss. I just, you get what I'm trying to say? Obviously, man, learning is the hardest, but we already knew he was the hardest. I don't think I learned anything new about him. You know what I'm trying to say to you? So I feel like the next project, he should challenge himself to what haven't I said already? You know the ones. That's just my challenge to Huss, is what haven't you said already? You know what I'm trying to say to you? But apart from that, this album is incredible.